Hey you. Yes, I mean you, dear listener. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this Warui Deshou podcast, made in association with Wave Motion Canon. We're so happy to have the pleasure of your company today. If you've listened to us before and like our show, you might be wondering how you can support us, since we won't take your money. This podcast will continue to be free, but if you'd like to show your appreciation, please consider leaving us a rating and review on iTunes, as those help our discoverability. If you don't use iTunes, that's fine too. You can follow us and like and share our content on SoundCloud, Twitter, and sometimes the Wave Motion Canon YouTube page. Additionally, we love getting your feedback, positive or negative. Tweet us at Warui Deshou or email us at waruideshou@gmail.com. Whether or not it gets read on the show, I can assure you, we all read every tweet and email you send us. And once again, dear listener, we thank you so much. Now please, enjoy the show.
Warui Deshou.
What up, y'all? We out here. Yep. A stream of thought. Yep. MMO time. Yep. We're here anyway to talk about MMO Junkie. Netaju no Susume. I, the Subtle Doctor, am one of your hosts, and with me is the ever-jocular, ever-present, ever-scum-dipping Shadon.
Yo, how's it going, everyone?
Are you ready to dive into the episode before the final episode?
Well, when you put it like that, no, because damn it, it's almost over. It's the end is in sight.
I know.
But
whoo boy, a lot happened in this episode.
It absolutely,
man,
it absolutely did. Some of which I was very appreciative of, and some of which I was less so about. But if you'll allow me, I want to do a brief bit of housekeeping before we begin. Specifically with 2 points. First off, I'm going to somehow get this put in the post that will come up with this particular episode. But I want to give a quick shout out to an article that I spotted in an anime Discord recently on this show by a person named Karen. Shouts to Karen if you're listening. Karen did an article discussing gender and how it plays into recovery of an MMO junkie, and it is a pretty brilliant read, I would argue. It's very much worth your time. So the link will be in the thingamabob, wherever it may be, attached to this particular post. So please take time to have a read of it.
Yeah, the blog is Otaku Sphere, and the author is Karen, and it's a really, really nice read. Very incisive analysis from her about this show, absolutely.
Indeed. And the other bit of housekeeping I was because I don't know if there's any real point which it would be appropriate to bring up in the episodes itself, but I feel like we've got to get this done before we finish this show. Macross fans out there, specifically Macross Frontier fans, if you've been having a bit of odd deja vu when you've been listening to the OP of this particular show, the singer who does the OP is, and I apologise profusely to her and anyone else who's anal retentive about my pronunciation of names in general. I mean, I can't even pronounce my own name correctly half the time. Never mind a Japanese one. But anyway, the singer is...
And his real name is only one syllable, so that's really saying something.
It's pretty bad, and that's even when I'm sober. Like, at that point, when I'm drunk, it's just high bullshit at that point. It's incomprehensible. But the lady who sings the OP for this particular show is Megumi Nakajima. How did I rate on that, by the way? Was that like a 5 out of 10?
No, that's fine. Yeah, Woo! That's perfectly fine.
Woo! Yes! Yes! I'm sorry, I was just very proud of myself for a brief moment. But Megumi Nakajima, now, if that name is familiar to you because you're a Macross Frontier fan, it should be, because that is the lady who voices and sings as Ranker Lee. Would you fucking believe it? Like, when I found that out, I was like, I knew the show was good, and now it's just better. Now it's just even better than it was before.
Totally. I love her stuff a lot.
Yeah, the OP for the show is fantastic as well, by the way. It's genuinely a really great song. So, another open request I'm going to put out to would-be video editors there. If someone wants to substitute the OP from Recovery of an MMO Junkie over any one of Ranker's musical performances from Macross Frontier, because I'm fairly certain you could quite cleanly slide over, you go right ahead. I will again pay you in Kit Kats. I have plenty of those at the moment, so if you want a Kit Kat...
Are you... Like, do you work for Nestle or whoever owns Kit Kats? Is it more? Are you the International Kit Kat Exchange?
I'm hoping that one day they'll sponsor me as a fighting game player, so I could be, Kit Kat Shadon. I got a recent trove of Kit Kats as a part of a birthday present from work. Like, one of the ladies literally bought me like 20 of them.
Not 30? You'd think it would be 30.
I'm pretty sure it's actually closer to 30 when you count.
Since you're, it would be the to reflect your age.
Yeah. Also, yes, for people who are thankfully blissfully unaware, I am now 30 years old. My birthday was, at the time of recording, 2 days ago. So that's it. It's all over now. It's been fun.
Many happy returns.
Thank you. But yes, I am now officially ancient. Like, from this point on, in order to tell how old I am, I'll need to, use a carbon dating tool. And fuck my life, I didn't even get one during Black Friday. what was wrong with me? God damn it. Could have bought one on the cheap from Amazon Prime, but I didn't think to do that, did I?
It's still Cyber Week, so you never know what you'd be able to find. Now Vorgalia is the only sort of official host of this podcast who has not reached the otaku expiration date.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she will remain on the other side of that dividing line for some time.
That is true. So I suppose at least if I can't find a carbon dating tool, I'll hopefully be able to find a retirement home plan on Amazon. I mean, can I get one of those on Black Friday, please?
Vorgalia, if you're listening, which I know you're not because you never listen to your own goddamn podcast.
Boo!
Get ready, because now, since you host with these two old men, like, we're going to be living vicariously through you. So now you have to go out and party. We love to party. And have wild, fun debauchery, orgies, the wine flowing like beer, and what have you. And we will live our lives vicariously through you now that we are past the age of fun and we're going to be eating at 4:30, going to bed at 7. Our joints will ache too much to go to the club. So yeah, get ready for that.
I mean, I wasn't even hungover on my 30th birthday. I went out the night before and spent like 12 hours drinking, and so I woke up and did not have one. So I've failed. I'm done. That's it. It's over. And the only course of action for me now is obviously to quit my job and become a niece and just play MMOs all day.
It's like cut to her driving by in a topless open convertible, like holding a stack of like burned money, laughing, like the money's on fire and she's just laughing, and then cut back to us like playing checkers.
Yep, that's it now, folks. It's all over. But what's not over? What is not over is the actual show. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No. So, I believe this episode, by the way, is called One Step Forward, which makes me... Until at least I saw the ending, and I've got the hint of what the next episode's title was, I was really terrified that the next episode will be called Two Steps Back.
I know!
Because Lord knows, so scared. Lord knows between Sakurai and Moriko that would happen. Like, they've literally been inching ever so slightly closer to each other and coming to understand each other every single time. And then you get someone like Captain Cockblock himself, Kawai, come in and just... But anyway, let us discuss episode 8. So, Doc, lay it on us. Tell us what happens.
Yeah. This episode should be called The Worlds Collided.
I blew the fuck up.
Jerry, don't you see? This world here, this is George's sanctuary. If Susan comes into contact with this world, his worlds collide. You know what happens then?
God, yeah. Kramer was right. It should be called Kramer was right. But let's hope he's not right ultimately about this. Anyway, all right. So in this episode, we at the beginning get like a really kind of fun reenactment of the plot so far on a tiny stage done by what appear to be stickers.
Yes.
that are animated very, like, well, not a lot, and it's really cute. And I believe that's the voice actor that plays Morioka that's doing the very exaggerated summary there. That's a lot of fun.
Yes. I have to be Mr. No Fun here, because now I'm old. That's it. There's no more fun allowed.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
isn't a recap at, like, episode 8 of a 10-episode show a bit superfluous?
Well, yes.
It's good. It's a good recap.
At least it was only like a minute long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a clip show.
That's true. Oh, God, you're right. You're entirely right.
And it was very cute. It was all new shots, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thank God for that, right?
Yeah. To be fair, I was recently spoiled by Kill the Kills recap, which when it happened, I was like, oh, shit. I've got a whole recap episode ahead of me. And then the narrator's literally like, oh, no, we know you're totally into the fast pace of this show, so we're going to keep this exceptionally brief. And they did, to their credit, and it was in a show which was like 16 episodes in, and every single episode I was like, I can't cope, there's too much going on, this is insane! So I was
much happening in
I
the
was
show.
I was spoiled by it, but that's a different cast for a different time in the future. Anyway, please continue.
Yep. After that, we get like the first in a series of really important events that happen this episode. We get the flashback to Sakurai's past. We find out that his parents died early in his life, like ever since the time, like basically he can't remember his birth parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was adopted by the Sakurai family, who were an elderly couple who passed away when he was, I think when he was still a student. Like the character doesn't look that much different, so it was hard to tell. I picked up context clues later on in the episode to figure out that he was still a student at the time.
That's correct.
When his adopted parents passed away and he moved into his own smaller house, a student staying in a huge family house, like, you know, that's a lot to keep up with and a lot to kind of cope with when, you know, you're feeling, I guess, lonely, right? Like your parents had passed and you had this huge house all to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in a studio apartment by myself for 3 years, and of course that's just an apartment studio size, so one bed and a joint kitchenette and living room area. And even that felt huge and lonely for me personally. So God knows I wouldn't be able, I understand Sakurai's thinking on that entirely, like big cavernous space with nothing in it, nothing moving. Yeah, let's get somewhere smaller, I think. I have to say, because again, I'm going to be Mr. No Fun here. I'm going to be Mr., you know, Mr. Overly critical, overly
cranky pants.
Yeah, cranky, that's it. I mean, clearly I need to, you know, be put back in my room at this point, you know. Oh, get old man Shadon away, he's being grouchy again. The problem I have with all of this up until the point in which Sakurai starts discussing the MMOs that he's into is that it violates the old show don't tell thing. He says he gets bullied when he got bullied when he was a kid because of his hair colour, which I found absolutely bizarre. I cannot recall in my life having ever seen anyone get bullied for their hair colour unless they were ginger.
This is a Japanese thing. Because he has, you know, natural blonde hair, which Morioka pointed out in episode 2, like, oh, wow, like, his hair looks natural. Like, that's cool. But when you're a kid and you're the only kid with natural blonde hair...
Yeah. Well, in
your maybe in your entire school...
Yeah, I see. To be fair, there is the equivalent thing, unfortunately, with ginger people or redheads.
Right.
Especially redheaded boys. Like, back in, like, the 80s and 70s, it was always the thing that, like, you know, gingers would get the shit bullied out of them for having ginger hair in high school.
God, you Brits are mean.
Oh, Jesus, don't even get me started. Okay, so I'll forgive the hair thing then. The elderly parents thing, I suppose, yeah, I kind of get that, like, you know... Like, Sakurai goes to sports day, and obviously, you know, his adopted parents are going to be there, but not going to actively be able to participate because they're old, so that's obviously going to be a bit, put him off a little bit for that, you know. And then, of course, there's always the usual, well, my dad could beat up your dad in a fight, and what's Sakurai's response to that? He's 70. He can't fight back. He's old. He's not Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. He can't do that.
Who is?
Well, that's true. But I think the problem I have with this though is like that this is all told and we don't see any of it, And it just feels like we need to just very quickly crowbar this in so we can like give Sakurai a reason to play MMOs, as opposed to just the very simple reason which doesn't need an explanation of because he genuinely enjoys them. Like, it feels a bit late in the game to put this. I mean, I already felt a bit odd about this strange twist of like perspective from Moriko to Sakurai in so much as how And on the same token, though, I don't actually mind it because one of the complaints I feared I would make, and I suggested in the previous episode, was that I don't want it to be the case that Moriko meets a man and that solves all her problems. Much in the same way as I wouldn't want Sakurai to meet a woman and have it solve all his problems. But I actually don't mind it so much if it's both of them coming together and helping each other out. I think that, that sometimes that can actually be the case that, you meet someone who does help you through your troubles, just as long as you don't then become reliant on them. So I think that grounding Sakurai, giving him more humanity in this way, even if it is a bit ham-fisted in how it's executed, is still welcome in some way.
In a previous episode, when he mentioned that he sought refuge, or so he thought, in the escapism and anonymity of MMOs, when you just read that on paper, I think you could assume a lot of different things about the character based on just that line, but the way they executed it and acted it, I think that it kind of hinted at some pain in his past. And that, the MMOs being the reason, MMOs being the escape from that pain. I mean, this could totally be something that I am reading into it, and is super subjective. And I agree with you. It's very quick. I suppose it would be good if more groundwork was laid for it and more development. But I do think that Morioka is still the main character. So I guess they feel like they can't spend too much time on it, but they want to get it. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. This show should really be 12 episodes.
I get that. Yeah, I think that's right. I think this ties back to what I said about Morioka's work issues not getting the proper amount of depth that they deserve. There are, of course, there are still 2 episodes. We're not out of the woods yet, so to speak. Not that I want to leave, of course, but I don't know. I'm going to say what I've always said. If I have I have 2 kinds of complaints. One where I wanted more, and one where what I got was crap. And pretty much all the complaints I've leveled at this show so far, with 1 or 2 minor exceptions, such as Kowai's behaviour, have been, I wanted more. So I think insofar as, those 2 categories of complaints goes, I'll take that over the other, which is Sword Art Online. That's the 3rd reference I've made to it now in this entire series. Ugh. One day I'll go back.
More like...
No.
Sucks Art Online. Am I right?
More like crock of shite. No, just crock of shite. let's not even make a rhyming pun here. Let's just call it what it is. A crock of shit. So, okay. So anyway, I'll leave that aside for the time being. So, I believe that we've now gone to the point in which Sakurai has indulged himself in a new the MMO. Nanta SG it was, you mentioned. Was that right?
I didn't mention the name, but that is correct. He got very involved in that MMO, and he found a family. And as we mentioned on a previous episode, that was the big draw for him, is that kind of community.
Yeah, he has a very specific line with regards to that, actually, which I thought was very interesting, where he said that with an MMO, you could be alone, but not be lonely. Again, a division like between here's me in person versus the character I'm playing there. Which is interesting when you compare it to Morioka's own actions, like what I said before about her desire for intimate contact, like close-up physical contact, despite any aversion that she might have to that, or any nervousness she might have or reservations.
Yeah. Like
for Sakurai, he's completely comfortable in this clear division. I do agree though. I think you can certainly be living in a place alone, but if you have that kind of environment in which you can socialize with people and play with them online, especially in a cooperative sense, unless you're playing something like, dare I say, Overwatch, because God, co-op on that was painful. That was a trying time when I played that for about a month and a half, and I realised I couldn't trust anyone to do anything.
Don't worry, love. Cavalry's here.
That's literally what was said, and then next thing you know, Tracer has been eliminated.
Yeah. Cavalry's dead.
Cavalry's here. Bang! Headshot. And Tracer was never seen again.
Well, speaking of games, I brought up Soma a few episodes ago.
That you did?
This inner monologue that Sakura has just made me think of that again, and how the brain instantiated in physical body of some people who have a lot of social anxiety, like it can really work against you, because you can want community and you can want interaction, but the very personal, up close, physical interaction between humans can also be extremely hard and exhausting and mentally and emotionally draining and painful, but it's also something that you need. So it can be a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And so technology here is providing an avenue toward relief, for certain people like that. And in Sakurai's, case, they don't go into that side of it, the transhuman stuff, but it is nice for him, because he does say that he is more comfortable when he is alone. He can be more at ease, just like Morioka. But they also want community, and they can have their cake and eat it too, as it were, with Nanta SG and Frudemir.
Doc, I have to ask, are you one day going to suggest to your wife, are you going to say to her, do you want to go out for some Frudemir? And then she'll look at you with that kind of arched eyebrow. What the? And you say, oh, I'm sorry, I meant Red Lobster.
I should do that next time that we travel home to the Gulf Coast.
Nice.
Where the seafood is delicious and fresh. I should.
Oh, now you're making me want sub. God damn it.
Sorry about that.
No. I mean, the closest coastal town that people travel to near where I live is Blackpool. And that's all I'll say about Blackpool, because...
Oh,
yeah.
Blackpool.
Yeah. Something I need to bring up, actually, that I've just realised, given what you've said to me. And this is... I'm not going to hold anything I'm going to say now against the show itself, because that would be unfair. The show is pretty much about the characters and not about the MMO itself. But I did bring up previously that there isn't really much display of any combat in the MMOs themselves. The vast majority of what happens in the MMO is usually not related to the MMO in of itself, or if it is, it's not to do with any of the combat or challenges inside of it. The loot box, for example, doesn't really count, because that's just more of a gambling thing as opposed to something you can definitively overcome yourself. But I wonder to myself, as a former MMO player, if the fact that you're playing a character who has powers and abilities, magic, martial, whatever you want to call it, maybe that in of itself can be a good thing to help build your own confidence. Because, dare I make the metaphor, but this show has a raid boss more dangerous and more potentially devastating than any in Frudemir ever will present to either Moriko or Sakurai, and that's their own hang-ups, their own insecurities, their own anxieties, and their own barriers and blockades to becoming closer as either friends or as a couple, when and if that happens. So,
what was that goddamn Nintendo mobile game? The first one they did. That was, I was going to make a joke. What was it called? It was basically just a chat room.
Pass.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't, I'm afraid, but listeners at home, please write in. Send us a postcard if you do.
God, what was it? I was going to be like, what is this?
You know, Doc.
Blah, blah, blah. But I can't,
you know, Doc.
Do it now.
You are going to go home tonight. You're going to be in bed. You're going to fall asleep. And then you're going to wake up in a cold sweat with the answer, and you're going to scream it at the top of your voice. And
this is what the French refer to as staircase wit. You think you have the best joke ever for the party when you're on the descending the staircase to leave the party.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me numerous times. But I wondered to myself, like, if the show might have benefited if it could have fit it in somewhere, showing more combat with monsters, like, with the environment. And having that be, like, the very first stepping stone for Moriko's, and then with Sakurai's flashbacks, of course, for him as well, for them gaining a bit of confidence. Like, because the escapism part is not just about what your character looks like defining it's, picking a gender that might not be your own, picking wild hair colours, fashion styles, but also in what they're capable of actually doing. And for the most part, we don't really see a lot of that in the show. With the notable exception of the fact that, of course, in the very first episode, something I wish I'd brought up at the time, but bear in mind that Lily is a healer, and what is Sakurai in real life helping Moriko to do?
Mitomo. That's what it is.
Yes.
I just Googled it.
Yes.
I'm a cheater.
What
is this? Mitomo?
Oh, God.
There, that would be the joke. If I was a good editor, I would put it there.
Well, you've still got a chance. Make it happen. Make it happen. But yeah, what I'm saying is that, in the very first episode, we learn that Lily is a healer, and over time, Sakurai, through his bits and bobs here and there, is helping Moriko to heal in real life. So, I just think to myself, maybe it would have been nice to see if the anime would have made an assertion about, getting that stepping stone, getting that starting point where, if I can overcome this, I can overcome anything. And then it's like, but can you? Can you overcome yourself? Can you overcome your own inner problems, like your own self-depreciation, your own low self-esteem? Can you overcome that? I mean, yeah, sure, this raid boss. This one where you've got to, do ridiculous tactics, you've got to work really hard to be... Yeah, it's child's play. But you actually wanted to, ask the man of, your dreams, dare I say, out to dinner? Or, do you want to try that? That's a bit too much, yeah. So I'm wondering if there might have been a bit more that could have been explored there. But I'm not going to hold it against the show because there's already enough going on in here, enough else I'd want to see that they'd be smushing all that in way too much. So, just food for thought. I'm gonna leave that there.
We're gonna move on past the food for thought and, get to the point in the story where Sakurai and Yuki / Morioka meet in Nanta SG, form a relationship. His character, by the way, it goes by the name of Hearth. Mm-hmm. First name Hearth, last name Stone.
God. Really?
And they party up, and all the same kind of traits that Lily / Sakurai observed in Hayashi / Morioka, and grew to love and enjoy so much in Freedom. Hearth in Nanta SG observes these same things in Yuki, like her earnestness, kindness, giving it her all, loving to play, all that sort of stuff. And they get to sort of the point, after showing some different kind of scenes intercut of them working together, they get to their kind of climactic conversation in that game, in which we've seen part of it before, where she talks about how she wants to quit her job, but there are too many new people. And the final thing that Yuki gets to say to Hearth in the game is she's very gung-ho about her work, and she says that she's going to finish up. She's going to get everything done that she needs to get done at work. I'm presuming that means get everything finalized and ready and in a good spot so that she can leave. And apparently that took a little bit longer than, she originally... I don't know what she planned, but it took more than a couple weeks, right?
Her final line actually was simply, "I'll see you next week." That was...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think that it was necessarily that she wanted to wrap up what she was doing in preparation for quitting her job. But I think that rather the exact opposite happened, in that she ended up quitting the MMO because the work just simply overwhelmed her.
Gotcha.
Even though she had the absolute intention of coming back, those were her final words, but then, again, we don't know, and again, we would like more in-depth info on the work situation, but we don't know what happened. But that's my impression that I got. So unfortunately, she never came back to Nanta SG. That's the last time that Yuki was ever seen. I have to
rip Nanta SG.
Indeed. I have to add one other thing, by the way. Was it just me, or when Yuki and Half were about to fight this monster and they were laughing like the children laugh there? Was that not really terrifying? Like, if I was like, let's say, an NPC in an MMO, a sentient one, and I like saw these two like childlike things come to me laughing like that, and then they started attacking me and beating me to death.
Yeah.
What a horrible way to go. Like, that's some Lord of the Flies shit right there.
I think all the characters in Nanta SG were children, were depicted that way, and it was probably done as a visual cue, I'd say.
Yes.
Like, at the beginning, when they're having those flashbacks early, their characters are younger, their real life analogs also younger.
Yes, you're right.
That sort of thing happening, I think.
You're absolutely
but
right.
That's really funny, though. Just laughing children killing a monster. It's, what a scene.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Yuki leaves Nanta SG and never comes back, unfortunately.
No. Fast forward to the present. Because Sakurai is kind of rifling through these memories in his head as he is creating his alt in Frudemir.
Yep.
That he also names Hearth. Mm-hmm. Except with the English characters.
Yeah.
So that these fucking creators of the show are just toying with us.
They really are.
Because you think, okay, he's gonna call it Hearth, and he looks the same. He looks like an older version of the character.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna give it away to Morioka. She'll absolutely get it. And nope, doesn't get it. Why? Well, at first we think, why doesn't she get it? She doesn't see it. Maybe she's just not thinking. No, it's because she can't read the English characters.
Nice one, Sakurai.
Just no. We're going to delay it again but luckily, we get past that.
Yes,
pretty soon.
Thankfully. You were dead on the money, by the way, I think, with saying that Sakurai's alt would look basically like... I'll give you a tenner for that. How's that sound? I can PayPal that over to you.
Where's my Kit Kat? International Kit Kat exchange. That's what I really want.
I can't PayPal that though, Doc. I'm sorry. You buy yourself many Kit Kats with 10 quid though.
It's not the same.
Oh, fine. I'll put it in a box and I'll ship it over. There we go. One Kit Kat to get through the Food and Drug Administration. Let's see how that goes. There'll be nothing left of it by the time it gets there.
We can film the unboxing. and put it up as paid content.
No. To be fair, the unboxing will all have been filmed by the custom staff who take it and eat it. So there's that.
It'll just be like security footage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god!
I have to say something about the scene though in which Sakurai makes his alt, because this is going to be off a bit of a tangent here, but I've been thinking since we did our last episode, in which I think I complained a fair bit about the various coincidences that are happening in this show, and I argued that they were cheapening the actions of the characters. And I have had a bit of a U-turn on that, having thought about it. So, we're all, that is to say, me, Doc, and you, the listener, are probably familiar with the dreaded narrative phrase of Deus Ex Machina. Which probably should have died along with ancient Greece, to be honest, as far as a storytelling technique goes, where shit just gets resolved. I mean, we've had that happen in anime this year. Thank you.
Oh boy.
Thank you very much. But the thing about...
that should be the subtitle of that show. It should be called Kado, Deus Ex Machina.
No, Kado,
I'm sorry, I spoke the word. I'm sorry.
Kado, watch this.
This structure, it's referred to as a Kado.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, but the thing about Deus Ex Machina is that Deus Ex Machina always, at least its negative form, usually resolves the situation, resolves the tension, resolves the drama. It's just out of the way. Now, Deus Ex Machina can, of course, also complicate a scenario. In which case, sometimes you just think to yourself, this is just nonsense. This is just being made difficult for the sake of it. Like, I remember Final Fantasy IX, the final boss of that just appears absolutely out of nowhere.
Oh my god.
Like, that was bollocks. That was like, oh yeah, hi boys, I'm Necron. I'm going to get involved in this now. Hey! And
that's like the only bad part of that game.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic game, I think.
I'm just like, wow. Like, they must have literally made, like, what was it, Transfusion, and then be like, oh shit, this is not really a final boss. Just crowbar one in. Fuck it, whatever. But anyway, moving away.
We need a giant, monstrous guy.
Yeah, we need a big monstrous dude to do it. But anyway, so what I've realised is that my complaints about the contrivances in Agnes, I was kind of viewing them under the wrong lens in that they were making things easier for the characters as opposed to what they actually are doing, which is usually making things more difficult. I mean, as much as we might say, like, oh, it turns out that Sakurai is sorry, why did I say Marth then? I'm thinking of Fire Emblem, that's not... Sorry, Ha.
Why does that make me laugh so much?
So, like, finding out, for example, that Sakurai was the kid, Half, from Nancer SG all along. Now, on the one hand, you could argue, oh, that just makes it easier for Mariko because she's always known him. But I would argue that based on having thought about this, that given what we know about Mariko's own, like, anxieties and her own reluctance to speak to Sakurai about, like, what she really is into, and her introversion, I'd argue that actually makes things more difficult.
Look at how difficult it's made it for Sakurai.
Yeah. So, I think that as you've rightly said in the previous episode, when you offered your counter perspective to mine, it's not a question of how all these contrivances coming up that's the issue. It's more how the characters react to them. That's the important thing. Because all of these contrivances are making things more difficult. Like, we as the audience might think, oh, this is easy peasy, like, they know each other already. But I think that for both of them, the fact they did know each other is actually making it harder, like, because there's previous expectations. Indeed, that's something that Mariko will bring up later, but we'll get to that. But
yeah,
what I want to say specifically is that this moment in which Sakurai creates his ult and names it Half is him finally taking decisive action.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clever move because it's got no consequences to it if it turns out that he was off base, if it turned out that Mariko was not Yuki. He admittedly fucks up royally by putting it in English, but whatever, I'll let it slide. I'll let go. But he's making definitive action here. He's actually finally jumping over this barrier in front of him. He's like getting over the hump. So that's what I was thinking. That's what you basically wanted to see, Doc. Like, here's a contrivance, but it's what the characters do with it. And what he did has finally got things going.
Finally. And it's like a snowball rolling downhill.
Yes.
From that moment forward. Because he, I think he's just like, well, I've crossed this line. This is the Rubicon. There's no going back. So, and he really, really starts it when one of the first things he says, as this Hearth character who, in the beginning, Yuki, Morioka, knows that it's Sakurai, but doesn't know he's Hearth from the previous game. He's like, I play a lot of MMOs. I like MMOs. And she has her cute little, like, what? Really? Really? That's amazing. I love MMOs. What did you play? What do you usually play?
Yeah.
What did you play in the past? And he keeps it going. He does not obfuscate. He doesn't turn away from it. He says, Nancer SG. And then, like, the first explosion within the mind of Morioka happens, right?
Yeah, I love that little sequence, by the way, brief as it was, where all these memories come up out of the screen. She's got, like, her, like, just self-appearance from the opening at that point. Because it's like where the identities have, like, gelled together in her head as she's realising where all these have come from. That was a really nice little sequence.
It was.
But, again, like, speaking of definitive action, Mariko doesn't immediately recognise that Half is, his name, like, because it's
Mr.
English.
Stone.
But she actually then asks him, like, she's thinking to herself, how is that pronounced? Oh, excuse me, Half, could you tell me how it's pronounced? And he says, yeah, sure, here you go. And then, boom. But she'd never known if she'd not have asked. And she wanted to ask because she knew that it was Sakurai there behind that avatar. So she just thought, it'd be worthwhile asking. So again, more definitive action, more things going forward.
It was man, those few moments before she asks feel like an eternity when they're awkwardly walking together.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ask the question.
I've been like that for the past 2 episodes in various forms. Just literally hands on knees, shaking in my chair. And I'm like, say it.
I mean,
say it!
Just like, it's like the creators have set up the world's most elaborate, like, domino line.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting at the end, like, slowly inching their finger toward the first domino, and then you keep thinking that they're going to touch it, and then they just look back at you like, should I touch it? Should I touch it now? And you're just like, do it! For the love of God!
I mean, this is a healing anime that's making masochists out of us. It's paid through pleasure.
It's functioning primarily as a romance now. I feel like it's the healing properties that it was having for me. It's become much more of a like show where I have to pause it and like stare up at the heavens or like walk around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still a good way. I don't find it frustrating. Like I feel like that they've done a nice job at giving you enough character moments and then revelations here in the later part of the show, and characters finding bits of truth out to like keep you satisfied. Especially in this episode, I felt like they really could have dropped the ball if they ended it after a certain fucking goddamn bullshit point. But thankfully, in the same episode, they solved that. But we'll get there. We'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yep. Let's also just very quickly address the fact that Harumi, Kowai, is very briefly in this episode, but thankfully, he taps himself out by falling asleep at some point on his burger,
so dumb.
On his burger cushion as well.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way: he's out of the game now at that point. So relax, ladies and gentlemen. It's good. The dreaded bad ending is not going to come to pass. So yeah. Whew.
Thank Christ.
But we still don't. We still
out of the fucking picture.
We still don't even know if that was his goal all along. Like he just fell asleep. Like he could have. We could have literally just had a scene where he logged off and he was like, "Well, they're talking now. Right. Where's my booze?" And then just like cheers or so. I don't know, but like whatever. He's no longer a player on the board. Who gives a fuck? If he doesn't appear again in the show, I won't care. Whatever. Fine.
He drew sorry.
Yep.
He drew go to jail. Go directly to jail. Get out, get off the board.
Yeah.
You bastard.
I hope he never rolls a double. we can hope. We can hope.
Yes. And I guess I was surprised that in Morioka's flashback that she gets to talk, or to have her monologue, her thoughts about work and Nanta SG and conversations with Hearth once she realizes that this is indeed the same Hearth, is that she said that what she felt was love for that character. Now, the question is, what sort of love? Because she knew at the time that he was younger than her. I'm not sure if she knew it was only a couple of years. Like, who knows, right? She knew it was a student. So that's an interesting kind of thing. But she clearly had and we knew this, right? She had very, very strong feelings for Hearth. And they get very little time in the MMO together once she knows and understands. And because Sakurai sort of does his sort of formal goodbyes to everyone, exchanges friend codes. This is not a Nintendo game. Whatever the fuck they do.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Get on each other's lists. And then logs out really, really quick.
Yeah, he's fired off his message in a bottle, and it's just now up to her.
Which you could sort of see as almost the opposite what you said before of him taking decisive action. It almost feels like he's punting. He's like, well, I've done my thing. Now I'm just going to leave. I quickly came in, impressed, and now I'm gone. And you know, I mean, honestly, like who, you know, I can't blame him too much because
he was resigned to the fact that because she didn't react to his name. I mean, he of course did realize that he'd written English, so obviously it didn't make any sense. But because of that, and how she didn't react to that name, he thought, no, it was a coincidence all along. I'm just talking out my backside. So I kind of get that, and I don't mind. Like he had a go at the very least. He tried.
I was so fucking happy.
Yes,
that he just told her in plain language, and that they had a phone call that Morioka was like, you know, she is now grabbing hold of the future and I am calling this guy because we have to talk about this.
I've made the football fans cheering in the audience reference, and this was one of them when she puts all the dots together, all the puzzles complete, minus the one big part, which will happen later. But like she knows, and she's like, she just reaches for a phone, and I love this shot. She recoils a little bit. She's still unsure, but then she goes and rings him, and I'm like,
yeah,
thank you so much.
This is not just the football celebration. This is you scoring a goal at the last minute, taking the ball out of the net, running all the way across the stadium to the end where the opposing fans are, and just doing the longest knee slide, like just knee sliding, and then you suddenly turn into a GoldenEye character in N64 where you're just knee sliding around the entire stadium.
Oh God, yeah,
it was incredible.
That's what it was.
An incredible moment.
Yeah. So, like, when they talked previously on their date, although to me, as I may or may not mention, it felt to me like a meeting of the UN Security Council, to be honest. It really did. It really fucking did. I'm surprised that there wasn't someone there taking minutes. Honestly, if they had both been wearing black, I would have thought they were there for a wake.
I know.
Anyway, so that was then, but this is now, and now they start talking and revealing things. And poor Mariko, like, she's still very self-depreciating. She's all like, I'm so sorry, like, how I came across.
It felt natural. This is not the happy end. Like, this is, like, the truth is starting to come out, but like you said, it's not necessarily making things easier. These characters still have to deal with it and process it in their own ways through their own, you know, hang-ups and issues. And of course Morioka's going to say, like, were you let down? Were you disappointed when you found out that it was me, that I was Yuki? Because, like, I wanted to impress you and be sociable and bubbly and everything. And, like, it just felt so, like, yes, like, the writers, like, understand those characters.
Yeah, and they understand that kind of character trait that people can have as well, because I think that is very true that for people who do self-depreciate to greater or lesser extents, even after they've got past the point of, like, revealing a particular detail, they still try to bring themselves down about it. I've been guilty of that. And, you know, I think that they, to the absolute credit of the writers of this show, they've got the understanding of how people act with that particular, you know, personality trait down to a T. And it feels very, I think for a lot of people, Moriko's, I mean, speaking as a cis white guy, cis hetero white
How
guy.
dare you?
Basically.
That's not what it says on your application.
Shit. Well, obviously I wasn't going to be a Smurf, so there is that. But no, speaking as a cis hetero white guy who's also a skinhead, so basically the vanilla of all of the combinations of, you know, physical attributes that you can get. I admittedly don't know if this is true or not, but I imagine a lot of women, not even necessarily women of Moriko's age, but maybe people, you know, women who are young, like teenagers, 18 to 21. You get the point. Will probably find her very relatable in how she feels about herself. And you know what? I'm glad that we do have a protagonist who acts like that, but also who is with genuine, like, she genuinely has likable traits about her, though. as I said before, when she cuts loose a little bit and, like, gets to make her silly faces and gets to react and, like, come and how she acts in the game and what Sakurai even says about her, there's a lot to like about her, but she obviously can't see it in herself or really struggles to. So I'm very glad that such a character does exist who has that quirk that I think is quite common to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But it's not something that, will stop you necessarily. There are people who will see you for what you are and for your good nature. And I think that a lot of people relate to that and find that very reassuring.
Absolutely, for sure. And Sakurai does his level best to support and reassure her and to tell her, like, have more confidence in yourself. Give yourself more credit.
Yeah, he literally says that.
It was, through Karen's article that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, kind of spurred me on to see this. But, we talked about how similar these two are with their hang-ups, but Sakurai's, I think, is a little bit of a different flavor. Now, certainly there are plenty of similarities with them and their anxieties, but he seems to want to and take pleasure in, like, taking care of other people.
Yes.
He took great pleasure in taking care of Yuki and then of Hayashi, and he's experiencing this with Morioka, and Karen in her article asks, like, why is this the case when he's the one who's been abandoned? And, like, not to go too deeply into my own personal issues, but as someone who has experienced parental abandonment and some pretty deep loss, and someone who's, like, needed care, I can tell you that being a nurturer to other people, it can bring about self-care, like helping kind of do the things for other people that you have lacked and that you honestly might have trouble receiving because you've never gotten them and you don't know how to deal with them. You kind of being the caretaker is a way to take care of your own self and meet those own needs within yourself. So I think I see a little bit of myself in him in that way.
Yeah. So the conversation continues. Like, Mariko, when she's, like, discussing this, is, like, lie on the bed and she's got all these, like, silly, like, pouty, like, pudgy, almost, dare I say it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle-esque face. Am I wrong? Like, at least as the shape goes, that's exactly what it is. But this is, again, her, like, amazing. Being open. Like, you can take those expressions as her being honest. And at this point, she, like, says, I don't know if it's just the phone or if I'm getting hot, like, And,
that was amazing.
And I'm just like, yeah, that's it. She's got the feels for him. She's got the feels for him pretty strong now.
Is it hot in here, or is it just this phone against my head?
Is it hot in here, or did I just forgot to put my fire resistance gear on today? Oops. Yeah.
I wanted him to tell her about Lily so bad, not to skip ahead, but I wanted it, and then...
Well, he did.
Oh!
He did, after a fashion.
No, but she didn't...
Yeah. So, because Sakurai admittedly has been very distracted lately, he's forgotten basic things like charging his phone up. So he literally says, I've got one other thing to tell you. Takes a deep breath. I'm Lily. And then he's like, hello, Mariko. Are you there? Oh God, have I killed her? She had a heart attack? And I'd have thought the same. But no, he looks at his phone and he's got no battery left. Now, I'm going to make 2 points about this. One, I hope that's...
You motherfucker.
Okay. I hope that forgetting to charge his phone is, like, the least of his domestic things that he's forgetting. Like, can you imagine that if, like, Sakurai, because he's been so distracted, he goes to take a number 2 and finds there's no toilet roll there because he's been so distracted
right.
lately? Or, he leaves his oven on. Like, we're going to stand up with, like, that character from Kuchu Barranco, the OCD guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to turn into
That's
that.
Right.
He's going to turn into that. He's going to, like, constantly going back. Shit, have I unlocked my door? Fuck. The second point I'm going to make is I'm going to tie it back to what I said before about contrivances. Like, because a battery running out in a particular moment like that is the absolute height of, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me, narratively speaking. Because it's like completely putting on the brakes on watching it. But I, again, am going to take the alternate viewpoint that I proposed before, that you yourself, Doc, gave last time. This has killed the momentum of what Sakurai and Mariko were doing dead. Like, they were on the way to talking more and being more open. Because I think often in a lot of scenarios when you're speaking with someone, and that was something deeply important to you, actually getting the conversation started is the most difficult part. Mm-hmm. Once you've actually got that going, you yourself said it's a snowball. You push it down the hill and then it rolls from there on out. But because Sakurai is a dope, he's now shot himself in the foot with that. So what needs to happen there is he needs to have another opportunity given to him in order to talk about this and to reveal this fact to Mariko. And there's no guarantee that he would necessarily do that. So I don't mind this so much because while you might very well and very rightly argue that this is just now artificially lengthening the show by putting brakes on it, like, in all honesty, naturalistically, it should have just been discussed there. He should have revealed it there and then on the phone call. But I'm going to allow it for another reason I'll come to in a moment. So,
goalpost mover.
Goalpost, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. That's what it is.
We can't move on yet because...
Oh.
I'm just so angry. I'm so angry that they did this.
Oh, dear.
I have, let me count in my notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A no with 12 O's.
Wow.
In my handwritten notes on this episode.
Damn.
I was so, because it's preceded by, he said it, with 4 exclamation points. He said, and then the batter, I really do think that they were just having fun with us, right? Because the show, I mentioned before, this is what I was talking about. This is the moment. It would have generated ill will toward the creators in me if they ended the episode on the battery being out in the phone. Like, the fact that they resolved it in the same episode does a lot for me. Like, I can...
Yeah.
It makes me overlook it, like, because we're not left waiting. And it doesn't... not a lot of time passes. There are a lot of anime romantic comedies where something like that will happen. Like, the man will be back-to-back with the lady, and he'll confess his feelings to her and turn around, and she's asleep. And then never tell her again throughout the course of the whole show because... it's not meant to actually, resolve that romance. So something like that didn't happen. Like, they figured it out and they fixed it later in the episode. I also do think that this thing he needs to tell her, like, it's really convenient that this happens, but I sort of think it did need to be told in person. I'm glad that they're in person.
Yes.
To have this discussion.
Yes, indeed.
They just run it. This is the coincidence I feel like you could get mad at because they just bump into each other. The next day on the street. They've done it before, though, at least. So they live sort of close by or they frequent the same roads.
Yeah. So after Sakurai, recharges his phone and buys himself about 10, maybe 12 power packs to go with it, so the shit never happens again, we find that he's walking home one night having done his grocery shopping, and he bumps into Mariko. And this kind of... I agree with what you say, like, this is so very, like, oh, right, okay, now they're suddenly here. Like, there's no build-up to this, it just... phone dies, next scene... oh, okay. But it doesn't matter.
It's really... they're just yanking us around because you feel like the next...
Don't get me started on yanking me around. I've got...
Because you feel like the next, like... you're sort of resetting tonally. You're like, well, we built up, the wave had crested, but it was a false dawn.
Yep.
And then so you're coming back down, but you don't have time to come back down because boom, they're together. That's kind of smart. Coincidental though it may be, but just watching it, I don't know. I enjoy those kind of roller coasters as a fan.
So they bump into each other, and Mariko, again, poor her, like, she's like, oh, I look a mess, I've got no makeup, I'm so sorry. And God's sake, woman, just be happy. That's all I want you to be. Like yourself. Please. But anyway, so Moriko's stomach starts growling, and Sakurai's like, don't be embarrassed. I've got some grub. Let's go and take a 5 minutes to sit down and talk. So they do, and this is one of those things, like, in any sort of hidden identity, double life kind of thing going on, in soaps, in drama, in rom-coms, you name it, there's always that one scene in which the person will say to the other person, oh, you've totally got to meet this person I met online. They're so much like you. You and her would get along so well. And
which she said before.
Yes.
Sort of.
And Sakurai, and he just says, no, that's impossible. And Moriko's like, oh, yeah, I guess. I was like, oh, man, don't set her off. Just tell her.
You're right. This is too sudden. Like, we can't get together.
This is
You're
impossible.
Busy.
Yeah. She's all like, you're busy. I get it. And he's like, no, that's not what I meant.
He's just sitting there listening to it. I'm just like, come on, just get in there. God damn it.
Yeah. So he stands up, looks her in the eye, and says, the reason that I can't play with Lily is because I am Lily. And then
credits.
Like you said, yanking by the chain, but ending on that moment and going to credits, leaving a week for me to wait for us to find out what is said and what happens next. Oh,
it's a really good cliffhanger.
I feel like
I'm entirely happy with this cliffhanger.
I feel like
because everything is known.
Yes,
everything is out there. No revelations remain. There's not like a backdoor, like, well, this knowledge still has to be found. It's like everything's out there, and now the next 2 episodes, we get the fallout. We get them coming to terms, dealing with it, and seeing how that goes down.
Yes.
Boy, stay the fuck asleep.
I think at this point he's out of the game. There's no way he could.
He'll come back. I mean, you know what? This is not the prediction radio or anything, but in my mind, I feel like so very often what will happen with something like this is, because of the time that's left to fill, some of the goodwill they have toward each other will be undone. There will be some kind of misunderstanding. Like when, in Yuri on Ice, when Yuri, the skater, came in,
yes.
The coach was, with another man, and and they separated and had to rebuild back up their relationship, and it had been built up so slowly over a long period of time that this just felt like, oh, well, we've got some episodes left, we need some tension, and God, I really hope that they don't do that here. I hope it's just them taking their first steps together as a couple and figuring it out.
Yes. So yeah, that's the episode with the cliffhanger that I'm glad I got. At the same time, I feel like I've been assaulted. How dare you? How dare you, after 8 episodes of build up to this moment, end it at that particular point and then force me to wait a week? It's like being winded, but then having to wait a week for you to be unwinded.
Mm-hmm.
Bastards. Absolute bastards.
Good anime leaves you feeling harrowed and violated.
Yeah, in a good way. This is what I was about to say. I feel like... no, actually, I'm not even going to make that joke. Look, let's just put it this way, right? I'm glad that, as you've rightly pointed out, that everything is now out in the open and we can actually get some time devoted to developing what goes from here, as opposed to having it be, dare I say, the 2-minute epilogue of episode 10, which I would...
Christ almighty.
Which I could see it being, but would be so incredibly underwhelming.
It would be awful.
Yes. So, thank God. Thank the Lord.
God.
It's out there, at long last. And kudos to both Moriko and Sakurai for making the decisions and the steps that made that happen. It wasn't, for example, that, Kowai simply dropped the truth to one of them, which it could have been.
It's like, here's hidden camera footage of Sakurai talking to himself about it.
Yeah, like he's imagine, right, if like, say Kowai was in Sakurai's apartment and was filming him playing Through the Bear on his phone, and then sent a video to Moriko saying, "Oh, look at my friend, he's such a twerp, isn't he?" But then Moriko takes a close look at the footage and sees that he's playing Lily.
That would suck.
That would be
terrible.
That would be awful. I would hate that. But what we've actually got here is both of them making definitive steps to bring this about, with Sakurai choosing the character name to finally spark things off there, light the fuse, and then Moriko, despite the fact, as I say, that little scene where she resists just for a moment, picking up her phone and calling him and asking him directly. And I'm like, God bless you guys. Now don't fuck the rest of this up!
And at the beginning of the show, it's doubtful that either of them would have taken that step. But things have happened such that, I think that have helped them grow to the point where they feel like they can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
So, thoughts and rating.
I don't really have anything much else to add from what I've already said, other than that I suppose, like, I'm just curious what will happen next. Like, I wonder if indeed there will be that, like, the 11th hour problem or the hang-up that will potentially sabotage things, but then we get them, like, realising, oh, wait, no, we can get past this. We've had those instances, like, where the phone dies, where it stops things in progress. Like, they've already got past the big hump. But now, like, and then they have to progress it from there. This is the biggest hump of all, and now it's over with. So, I don't doubt that in the end they'll be together. What I want to find out is for what reasons they'll be together. Like, I'm sure that, like, that their shared love of MMOs will be a thing, but also what about their personalities? And moreover, I still really, really want to see some more insight into Moriko's, like, previous work life, and also a resolution to her living arrangements and her work arrangements. Because, as I've said many a time on this stream of thought about this show, her situation, even if she does end up getting with Sakurai, can't last forever.
I feel like in the last few moments you've been talking, I had a revelation. Koiwai is going to hire her.
That I could see happening.
I think she's going to be hired to work in their office.
Yeah. That I do see happening, as a matter of fact. Well, I want something to happen that will ultimately resolve that. But I also do want a little bit of time devoted to examining that. Maybe just more of a heart time. Maybe that could be the thing that forces them apart. Like, where Sakurai pushes her a little too hard on discussing in more detail.
I hope they're not pushed apart. Please.
No. What I mean to say is that's the thing, like, that she's not ready to discuss that with him, and that she freaks out and says, like, runs away. I don't know. But then later they come back and she says, okay.
I could see it happening. Yeah,
I could
for sure.
I mean, hell, here's how I would do it. Like, have her discuss it with him in person, or rather have him try to discuss it in person. That causes us to freak out. And then when they log in again online, they go back to that tree, and that's when they talk about it. Because that's a more comfortable zone for her than being in person, at least for the moment with him. Because she's not ready to kind of get that intimate with her.
In the future, they're going to live in the same house, but talk to each other through the MMO.
That wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. It really wouldn't. Can I make some of the fairly far out predictions here?
Of course.
All right. So, first off, the closing credit sequence for episode 10. I'm going to put this out here right now. I reckon that these two Muppets are going to get married. And I reckon that, or at least maybe this is less a prediction, more what I would do if I was directing this show. So please ignore my hubris if it's crap. But here's how I would do it. So you have them getting married, okay? And I'd probably have Kowai as best man. He'd still be like, "Good, Sakura-chan."
Yeah, of course.
But what I'd also do is I would juxtapose the shots of them getting married, like all the various bits, like the I do.
Oh, it's a WoW wedding.
Well, yeah, with an online version of that happening as well. With it,
Amazing.
Hayashi and Lily getting married at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not same time, literally, but you know what I mean, like in the sequence of shots. Because weddings between people who met through WoW have happened. Mm-hmm. I know that for a fact. I've not seen any in person, but I know that that's definitely happened. There are people
weddings and funerals, yeah.
Yeah, it's happened. So, that's what I'm going to guess will happen. And if it doesn't, whatever. But hey, final racing for this episode. I'm going to knock some points off, well, some bits off for the opening bits that I wasn't so hot on. But once we finally got to that point where Sakurai starts discussing MMOs, from that point onwards, everything was just fantastic. Minus some odd bits with the SOS fluid plate thing, which I was like, what? What? Like, this is still not funny to me personally, but whatever, who cares? I'm not interested in that anyway. So I'm going to, in the end, give this show, or this episode rather, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 bars of cell phone charge.
Damn you! You stole my.
Ah!
You stole my imagery.
Got you.
All right.
I got you, Doc. Yep.
You did.
I read you.
You did.
Like in fighting games, because that's what I am. I'm a fighting game player. Right,
you did. Was the hardest of reads.
I'll show up now. I'm so sorry.
Okay. This episode for me, it was like great sex.
What, were you smoking afterwards?
Yes, I needed a post-coital cigarette. Absolutely. It kept getting better and better and better. The highs were so high, and then you think it's over. Nope. Still more pleasure and awesomeness left right up to the very end. Unbelievable. Unpredictable. Yeah, I loved every single thing about it. The show has really come to a crescendo. It started strong and has led up to this moment. Gonna give this episode 5. Count 'em. 5 sweet sticky buns out of 5.
Nice. I have to say, though, your sex metaphor then, I thought to myself, given the way the show ends, would that not make you think of Blue Balls? Because I sure as shit felt like I fucking Blue Balls when it fucking ended on that cliffhanger.
I did not, so I thought that was fine. I was very satisfied.
I'm not mad. I'm not legitimately mad at it. I'm faux mad at it. I'm not going to hold it against you because
I couldn't take anymore. I said this. I said the safe word, and then they stopped. More could have happened.
All right. So yes, thank you all very much for listening to episode 8. We are now caught up, I believe. As
at the time of this recording.
Yes.
I hope to get this episode out before 9 airs, but we will see.
We'll see.
It's a busy week for me, so I can't promise it, but gonna try. Editing 7 as we speak.
Nice. By the way, just a reminder for those of you who heard earlier but might have forgot about it given how long this is going on for, please do absolutely check out Karen's article. We'll include a link for it somewhere with the post that this goes with. It's very much a worthwhile read about this show and the issue of gender within it and the portrayal thereof. As for me, I've been Shadon. I am now super fucking old, so I might as well just call myself Old Shadon from here on out. Admittedly,
old.
Yeah, like old Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4, I guess. But to be fair, I can't really call myself that given that Doc is older than me, so it would be disingenuous.
It is true. It is true.
So I'll give that a miss, and I'll just be usual Shadon from here on out. You can find me at curiouscat.me/Shadon if you've got anything you want to throw my way. Again, as long as it's not any pointed or really unusual, political questions, then that's great. Actually, no, sod it. Send them my way anyway. We'll have a good laugh. Why the fuck not?
Why are the socialists so stupid?
Because they haven't watched this glorious show and realised what the joy of life is. There you go. What?
It's a trick question.
You're a trick. Get out. Guess out, fake Arnold, or No, I'm going to call you Faux Arnold.
The golden one. I just can't do his accent, so I default to this one.
I'm going to call you Faux Arnold.
The fool's golden one.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, you can find me there. Doc, what about yourself? Where you may be found on the interweb?
Well, you can find me, of course, on Twitter at TheSubtleDoctor. I am happy to talk about the world of freedom or other delights with you on there, or if you have a question in which you feel Twitter might not be the most appropriate format, or you just want to hear, me go into more depth, or you just want to be an asshole and, try to send me off on one, then you can find me at curiouscat.me/TheSubtleDoctor. Just a moment here. I have been trying to stall for time because I'm trying to pull something up that I want to mention. All right. And before we go, special shout outs and thanks to you, iTunes user YFSGT, who recently gave us a rating on iTunes and review. It's been a minute since we've got a review on iTunes. It's been 13 months. You ungrateful bastards. Since we
well, we're gonna get plenty of reviews now.
Since we got a review on iTunes,
we're gonna get plenty of reviews now that you've said that, but I don't think they're gonna be what you want.
Come at me, bro.
All right, fair enough.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate any feedback, and special thanks to you, iTunes user, for the lovely review. They call us very charming and likable. So, your taste in hosts aside, we appreciate it. With that, thanks again, everyone, for listening. For Shadon, I'm the Subtle Doctor, and hopefully very soon we'll be coming at you with episode 9 of MMO Junkie. But until then, embrace each other, everyone, to the ends of the universe. No sign off from you?